Do you want to go to college but not sure if you can handle dorm life? Well, in recent years, investors have poured millions of dollars into making some off-campus housing look more like a vacation getaway. So over the last few years, or the past 10 years, for example, investors have been seeking recession-resistant markets and assets. So they've been putting a lot of money into off-campus housing, right? And over the past 10 years, they've gotten more and more extravagant. So they started with just kind of different dormitories, but now it's gotten quite a bit more extreme. To give you an example, Stadium Center Apartments, which is just a short walk to Florida State University in Tallahassee, it's a pretty large apartment complex, 710 beds. Investors poured $4.5 billion into the properties last year. And so, Nick, just to give you an example of some of the amenities that these houses have,
sure.
So among 94 student housing complexes that were analyzed in the United States last year, 80% had access to a pool, 55% had on-site tanning salons, 45% had volleyball courts, and 38% had dedicated study rooms. So the funniest thing I found about those statistics is the fact that you have all of this kind of fancy, luxury resort type of stuff, and then they're like, oh yeah, the things that students actually need, study rooms, we don't need that as much.
Who needs a study room when you have a sauna?
Yeah.
What better place to study and get some studying done than a sauna?
Yeah,
right?
You could just practice your arithmetic while you're sitting in your tanning salon, I suppose.
Get orange while you study.
Yeah.
No, I mean, look, pardon me for looking at the bigger picture here. I'm going to step back for a little bit and just say that, we're just seeing that college kind of remains, universities kind of remain this playground for the elite of society, and that's just the way it's been for a very long time. It's the way it still is now. I mean, you look at inflation, for example, plays a key role in all of this. I mean, we see that, salaries have really not changed very much in the past year, yet, given inflation and given the fact that tuition is rising like it's nobody's business, we see that it remains a playground for the elite. I find it completely unnecessary to have a jacuzzi on your balcony. Do I want one?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, of course. You're not going to argue with that. Yeah, well, I mean, to give you an idea, at one of for Stadium Center Apartments, for example, a one-bedroom goes for about $1,000, which in Tallahassee, that's comparable, but it's definitely on the higher end of that. I mean, on-campus housing is certainly very expensive. Where I went to school, it was pretty extreme as well. But I mean, it's just interesting to me that with these these complexes, leasing rules can vary, but they generally only lease to students. So I just find it interesting. And then as a former college student, one of my personal feelings is the fact that, it's already difficult when you leave a school, when you leave basically being taken care of at a college. You have a meal plan, you have your dorm, you have teachers telling you what you need to do. It's already kind of a kick in the pants when you go out into the real world and need to take care of yourself and realize you have to pay your rent. But if you're coming from this,
no jacuzzi on the balcony?
You're like 22 years old being like, wait, I don't have a valet trash service anymore. I don't have a laundry service that gives me a text when my load is done.
Yeah, but you know what? This is also, in a way, it's a great way for these schools to make people fork out way more money to live on their student housing, right? I mean, I remember I applied to a school when I was applying. I applied to one school in Rome, and it's like the housing was so expensive. Yet if you look at the rent in Rome, it's actually pretty cheap. So it's it was just a way for them to make you pay way more money. And this is the same thing. Nobody needs pools. Nobody needs jacuzzis. Nobody needs saunas or any of that stuff.
Right.
But people are going to pay because it's a lot of rich people going to these schools.
Absolutely. So as we've seen, off-campus housing has just become another way that school becomes a four-year party.